Last time on Devox plays Higurashi When They Cry.
I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi-kun's? Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. That's Satoshi. Did she mean the student who had transferred out last year? But that couldn't be. Runeheart tried to cover it up by saying he had transferred, but Oishi-san told me quite clearly that he was missing. He was the student who sat at my desk until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Oishiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about his disappearance. Beyond he lived was killed the night of the Watanagashi by drug addict, and not long after that he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were... what? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be? Satoshi Hojo. It was a bit difficult to see, but that was written on the white tape at the end of the bat.
And now, to continue our peaceful life in the village of Hinamizawa.
Ladies, gentlemen, creatures of all origins, my name is Devox Runeheart, and welcome back to Devox Plays Higurashi When They Cry. Last time, we continued our crash out, and learned that Rena knows our parents aren't home and that we are all alone. So, this can only end well, right? A happy little sleepover or something, right? Yeah. Without further ado, tiny mode. Continue. Well, I don't think we read the tips last time either. Split personality. No, I definitely didn't read these. I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, poor people imagine themselves as wealthy as a form of escapism. No, they're not. Is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. It's something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that, and some who disagree. There is no consensus. And is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon, something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? Fortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope into future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities? Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have had abnormal mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Watch a video of them. Right after these commercials. Okay, it was a TV thing. Okay. At the 7th mark. Yeah, isn't multiple personalities more so brought on by trauma or something? Like, you can't really cope with something that has happened, and therefore you kind of split off a different version of you that can, like, protect your brain, kind of? That's at least how I've seen it in, like, media and stuff. But I am not a registered psychiatrist, so maybe it's a genetic predisposition? Huh, maybe it's both. The 7th Mart is a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. What's this, Keiichi? So many. There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? Swapped all the different colored cup noodle bowls in the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently. There are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Keiichi. Buy them in the big case. It's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. I knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only get one kind. To eat one kind. I'd get bored with it. I was resisting as a formality. I'd already given up inside and wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mommy will pick for you. Don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I want. Pork one and ginger, large cup? Hey Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? I'll let Mom pick. She'd err on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavored. Pork bone is good. I don't want to get a big bowl of tasteless stuff. I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpened my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Rena. I rewound the situation, searching, but of course I couldn't find her. Then, was she spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound of presences again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around and checked for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom, but there was a presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing it now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. Listening to that moment again, hear footsteps out of the mind going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat were right behind me. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I don't think I had heard anything. Or I didn't think I had heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That is why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run faster than I had ran at that time. Couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That was why it had made no sound. That was all. At that time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking to with my parents. I was just standing there. It was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. Sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. Wanted to end it. Someone turned on the light. Except my body couldn't move. As if I were soon into that moment in time. Pit-pat. Past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved. You shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. You shouldn't be able to move either. All the rules. Pit-pat. Yet the sound echoed in the darkness once again. Hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. I was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move? Like how the presence was moving behind me. I quickly realized. I could move. It's just that I was scared I didn't want to. That was the only time I could turn around. There was something unforgivable in this moment in time. Yeah, but I need to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, I began to administer a pain-like needle being stuck in every pore. What? As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, I began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck in my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. Bro. I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What? What? What is this? The situation in front of my eyes was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juice, just the way you do with an apple. My mind was being eaten. It began to munch down, slurping the juices as it was like an apple. Meaning, what was in front of me was a worm. Oh, read all the tips and oh no. If there's no more tips, this is the end, isn't it? Oh no. I think we might be seeing the end of the crash out this time. Save that I've read all the tips. Why do... Okay, this is a genuine question. Why is there so many save slots? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10. There's 100 slots. 10 times 10 pages. Holy crap! So many saves. Not a choice this game. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in the panic all night. Spent all night hugging the metal battis and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, setting the futon flying and attack me. If I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. If sleep meant taking that risk, I don't need it. It was much better to just stay awake. At some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside. That was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek through the curtains. Rena was gone. Couldn't see her no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time. I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable. Staying holed up in here was probably the safest option. Staying here wouldn't solve anything. Koichi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he nor my parents. So unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes just like I did every morning. I regulated my breathing, regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates of any car that drive by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself. I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they draw their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I'd have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. Alright, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength. And entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run to Rena or Mion, I needed to leave now. Shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the hallway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the phone call and everything. If my parents came back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now. Considering what would happen if I ran into Rena or Mion, it wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maebara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Rena arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Rena said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. But I could see those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Sadako and the others that the bandages were for hurting herself in the kitchen. So it wasn't like it bothered me. Details that Oishi-san shared about Rena's identity before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Rena as a cute, ideal girl. Hey, Chan, I see you're still aiming for the nationals. It was Mion. I'd already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised. Oh, Mion, if you understand, then leave me alone. I'm busy practicing. I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing, tactfully keeping Mion from getting any closer. Hey, Kei-chan, take it easy. I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest. Homeroom's not that far off, is it? Homeroom's not that far off, is it? Just let me finish practicing. Throwing the bat even harder is a sign of my refusal. Hey, Chan, when did you get into baseball? Just recently. Recently? You mean yesterday? I'm gonna ask if you already know. Oh dear. Very unsportsmanlike reply. You're distracting me. Go away. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Probably she'd get mad or bored if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility. We were at school in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out. You need me for something, right? What is it? Slipped forward from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as I needed when the time came. I'll probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuses for carrying the bat around with me. Flash! Well, it's nothing important. If you're tired, I can ask again later? Now it's fine. I'm only dealing with you right now because I judge the situation to be safe. Talking to you alone and away from others? That's out of the question. Well, Ian was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. Unlike Oishi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Anne was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave me a hearty laugh to break herself out of that mire. The old man is just not good at this stuff. Having a poor vocabulary hurts. What's this all of a sudden? If you have something to say, just say it. Stop it. Stop swinging that bat. That's not what she said at all. Stop that swinging. She cut right to the point. Her request was so frank, I didn't understand it for a moment. I'd already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I? I just stopped, didn't I? That's not what I meant. I want today to be the last day you swing that bat. Sorry. It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat? Why? None of your business, is it? Not bothering anyone, am I? You are. Neon said it flat out. This didn't make any sense, and that was really irritating. When did I bother anybody? Uh, Neon was at a loss for words. Finally made up her mind and spoke, but she stuttered as she said it. Because Kate-chan, that's someone else's bat. Didn't borrow it without permission. It was left behind by a student who transferred, right? Just borrowing it until he comes back for it. Huh? Yeah, he transferred. Mian grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie. That's strange, isn't it? Told the other brother to transfer by himself, while his little sister stayed behind. Mian couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up. Kei-chan, you knew? Satoshi Hojo. Sadako's older brother, right? The one demoned away last year. Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent. Trying to ask me the same thing. Why'd you start swinging that bat? You told me Satoshi did the same thing, practicing his swings, right before he went missing. So, is this some kind of omen for Oyashiro-sama's curse? Shh! Mion panicked and looked around. Please, Kei-chan, don't mention Oyashiro-sama so recklessly. I don't believe in him, but the others very much do. Rena especially. Dangerously so. Oh, that's new. Anyway, you're scaring everyone. If you're just fooling around, then stop it. You have to stop acting like Satoshi. I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me to know that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decision. I'll say this now. I don't know anything about Satoshi. For all, you didn't tell me anything about him. You didn't mean to hide it. You were hiding the incidents that happened every year, weren't you? That's because you didn't want to, you didn't want to scare me? That's for your reason for leaving me out? No, we didn't mean to. Mion, I asked you directly if something happened at the dam, didn't I? You told me nothing happened. Someone was dismembered and murdered. You lied to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. Friends don't hide things from each other, right? Keiichi, you are literally calling the kettle black. Isn't that right? And you aren't my friends. Kei-chan, He looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like that. Oh, by the way, those get well mochi you brought the other day, they were good. I thought I was going to bleed. Who did it? You? Or Rena? Me? She admitted it so easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy it was. You could have killed me. Why did you do that to a friend? But it was just a little prank. Mion gave a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me. You think that was a prank? I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. I had swallowed that and it lodged in my throat. What did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore. Anyways, you're not my friend. No reason for me to listen to someone who's not my friend. Just leave me alone for a while. Got it? Mion wasn't replying anymore. It won't be that easy to erase me, you know. Cops have been on you from the start. I don't think you can make me disappear like you did Satoshi. I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war. I think you guys are suspects in the previous incidents, too. I also know you've spent a lot of time with the cops ever since the anti-dam movement. I don't think you can hide it from me. Got that? How did you know? Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. Time for morning homeroom. Let's go. Class representative needs to be there, right? That moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks. You're mean, Kei-chan. I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I have no need to feel guilty. I'm going. Don't be late for homeroom. Left Mion still shaking as I turned around to head for the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself. But that's how it is. Huh? She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself, but it was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her. So it was that bastard. He leaked it all to Kei-chan. Balled up her fist and tears continued to rain down. Glared at a spot on the ground, but with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. Chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. Transformation, Neon's transformation, different from Rena's. Could have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was going to retire this year. Retiring this year. Was she talking about Oishi-san? Damn it. Damn it. Gotta kill that damn old man. Arrgh. Felt the air itself begun distorting. Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. It was the first time I'd experienced such a visage. Rise! Attention! He had made an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. There was contacts? After that, neither Rena or Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Sadako or Rika-chan looked at me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The months since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling. Today it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. Stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility that the same thing repeating tomorrow. Deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be. Whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless of my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? Sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. It wouldn't give me an answer. Or could it be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere, mixing with their shrieks, Tomotaki-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi, fruitlessly crying in the next victim. Sitting down at my feet, I saw a Higurashi was on its back, spasming weakly. That noise. There was still so much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. Couldn't possibly tell what it was saying, or how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once. As if they had held together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. Presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was the rush of adrenaline that sharpened all my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long. In that moment, when I needed to be razor sharp, able to retain my composure. Seconds, I've just realized something. That. Okay. I realized I had something open that shouldn't be. That might make noises. Wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. Hidden myself calmly among the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass by me? No, since I was able to hear the footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Rena just like yesterday? If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. Wasn't Rena? It would depend on how they acted, I guess. Footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once now waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray, it was Rena. A bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. It wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless. Her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent, and it looks like she was gritting slightly. And in her right hand was an axe. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing, there were tons of excuses for me carrying a bat. But for that axe? There was no excuse for that. An axe just like that. Hey, chicken. Are you playing hide and seek? I wonder. I wonder. My heart was pounding, hard enough that I had trouble breathing. Little composure I had What little composure I had been able to hold onto was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. I already knew I was here. Trying to scare me? I wonder? I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still space between us. That would allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, readied myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree. I found you, Paige. Winter was pleased that she found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Uh, not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of viscous, hot, and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, the substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all the organs in my body. Not good, not good. I'd be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose. What is it? I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. Rena didn't flinch one bit. Just the same as Keiichika. Heading home. What about that axe? That bat you're holding. I'm practicing my swing. I'm treasure hunting. Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon. Treasure hunting? Treasure mountain campsite. A new cute thing. But I need this to dig it out. How could I believe that? Wouldn't believe it, would you? Brenna's laugh was obviously very strange. I've seen Brenna's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and that shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that roundabout. Not sure what to say. It was just so obvious. Wait, you can. Brenna didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Brenna got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. The cycle repeated over and over. I hardly looked at it. I was being chased by Rena who was trying to escape. Don't follow me! Can't do that. My house is this way after all. When I met with Rena on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. Today was different. Rena didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one cowering? If the way home for Rena and me was the same, that's fine. I just changed my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned out onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. Rena saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? And just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. Why are you following me? I thought my voice was already tinged with terror. Because I won't talk to Keiichi-kun. Keiichi-kun wants to talk to Rena too, doesn't he? Doesn't he? I don't want to talk about anything with you. It's a lie, isn't it? Something you want to ask me about, isn't there? Not at all. I have nothing to talk to you about. That's a lie, isn't it? Not a lie. Lies. Then a scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace. Let's talk, Keiichi-kun. Talk. Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street? Doesn't Keiichi-kun have something he's worried about? Nothing at all. I'm not worried about anything. Lies. Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any farther away from her? Or farther away? I know. Really do know. Scared, aren't you, Keiichi-kun? I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything. Lies. My breathing grew heavy and felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Rena wasn't even breaking a sweat. Listen. This time I'll listen. I had no idea what she's talking about, what exactly she wanted to do. This time I'll listen. It would be different from the time with Satoshi-kun. When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. And even as I did, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop. Satoshi-kun was worried too. It looked like he was having such a hard time. But I didn't listen. I was so sad. Where did this street connect to? All these twists and turns, ups and downs. It's hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window. I really regretted it when Satoshi-kun transferred out. I thought that if I listened, maybe he wouldn't have transferred out. I really regretted that. The road led me deeper into the forest. I wasn't getting farther away from the village. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. Despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm. So you see, vowed that if there was someone struggling like Satoshi, I'd save them. I don't want anyone out to transfer out again. Damn it! What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. Won't end up the same as Satoshi. Come on, Keiichi-kun. Talk to me. I'll be able to understand you, Keiichi-kun. I'm your ally. I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode, and my heart was beating so hard as it possibly could. I could have practiced running instead of my swing. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought. Keiichi-kun doesn't have anything to worry about. He'll go back to normal. Everyone will be back to being friends, and we can enjoy club activities again. Next time, team up to beat Michan. Yeah, how much fun that would be. I could even imagine how much I wished I could turn back the clock out in these past few days. It'd be nice to me again, too. I want to go searching for treasure again. This time I'll prepare a nice lunch.
Actually, we could just go right now. Let's go up to the dam site together. Show you the cute thing I found. Sure you'll like it too. My footsteps made pathetic flopping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. On my heels, Rena's steps were sharply breaking twigs at her foot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Rena. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. Couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. Didn't matter how it was going to end. Wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. Out of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me and I crumbled towards the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used the bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Renner was already standing in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Renner was so cool and composed that she could have frozen the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating. You're afraid of something, I wonder. It's not like you to tremble, Keiichi-kun. Her expression almost looked affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. She admonished me for trembling. Rena's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel like I was staring at the god lines of the thousand-armed Buddha. And as both her hands met above her head, the axe she held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do. Tell me, what happened to Satoshi? Rena stayed like that, with the axe raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend that she would never see again. She was never to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions. I told you, Satoshi transferred out. Enough of this transfer crap. It means demoned away, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You can tell me now, can't you? Who made Satoshi disappear? Was it you? Neon? Someone in the village? Answer me. I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rena did nothing but maintain the frozen smile on her face. No idea what Keiichi-kun is talking about. And I'll say it in a way that so you do. Who was the perpetrator of this chain of mysterious deaths? I seem to be confused, Keiichi. What? There is no human perpetrator. Everything is by Oyashiro-sama's will. Isn't Oyashiro-sama's curse just superstition? You believe in that too? Not about believing or not. Oyashiro-sama exists. Period. Rena's gaze grew even more gelid. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything. There's just no way something like Oyashiro-sama could exist. You don't believe me? Oyashiro-sama? There's no way I could believe it. There's no way it could exist. It exists. Oyashiro-sama exists. Keiichi-kun should have felt it personally. I never felt anything like that. Keiichi-kun felt someone apologizing to you for. On top of that, all the noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Rena's voice resounded, loudly and terribly. See, will you forgive them? I'll always be with you. School, home, bedside. I don't understand what Rena was saying. Came to me too. Hirosama did. That's why I transferred. Came back to Hinamiza. I don't understand. I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying? Hirosama? Who is well? Keiichi-kun? I'm probably the only one you can confide in. I'm gonna let you transfer. Okay? Rena's demented laugh clanged around inside my head. Rena saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well?
That's right. Last night I had heard about that when I asked about Rena. Please keep please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. All of it may be true. Are you still interested? Oishi-san began speaking. Victims near the school filed a complaint. No preliminary report. Basically, police hadn't intervened. All these details, just what I heard. Meaning it's not that credible. Said there were victims? Didn't Rena just break all the windows? No. Ryu had attacked 3 boys. Metal bat. 2 of them made it out with the bruises, but the other had been injured badly that one of his eyes permanently. Wouldn't that be considered assault? Couldn't the police have arrested her? For whatever reason, the victim never pressed charges. No report to the police, so... They were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation. But why didn't they press charges? I tried asking 3 male victims from their side of the story. They were all reluctant. It's hard to say. They were all afraid. Even after she transferred school. Oishi-san, could you summarize it starting from the beginning? Rena hit people while she broke the windows? Was it she started breaking windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meaning were drastically different. Undisclosed date. Ryugu was bursting with 3 male students, close friends of hers, near the pool storage shed. Who were those 3? Can't reveal their names. Close to Ryugu, only they were friends. She was a lone girl in their group. So it wasn't that strange for the 4 of them were together? What happened? Don't know the reason why. Took the baseball team's bat that was in the pool storage shed and beat the 3 of them down one after the other. What? There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day after school, Rena and all 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather, they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Rena underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them couldn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the middle bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their head, she made her way towards the school building. She broke the glass window then she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on scene and subdued her. What does this change Rena underwent? What matches it up in the statements for the 3D was sudden change. To the point that there was transformation. Transformation? I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena. That transformation they were talking about, had it happened before? No, there was nothing like that. As far as I could find out, in a medical history and past, nothing like that. Does it happen often? Where people change suddenly like Rena did? Of course it does. There are plenty of psychological phenomena that cause something like this. And you're saying there was a dormant element in Rena that caused that transformation? I cannot say that for certain, according to the statements of her friends. I try to believe she had such a side to her. Kind, caring, and adorable. Before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school like she was now. That girl transforming suddenly and assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a... Nobody could have seen it coming. I myself sometimes believe I'd mistaken for thinking that was even now. And what happened after that? There was a hospital right across from the school. 3 of them were carried in and treated quickly. What about Rena? What about the police? Why wasn't there a criminal investigation? The police can't get involved unless they're called. Even though one was badly injured with permanent damage? Why didn't they file charges? That's what caught my attention. Well, either some threat or pressure was placed on them, or they had a reason they couldn't file charges even if they wanted. We're talking about you after all. Of course you looked into it, didn't you? Well, yeah. I told you at the beginning, didn't you? That the victims were all very reluctant to talk. They didn't want to touch on the matter, or rather, didn't want to be reluctant to talk, didn't want to touch it, didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse. Did the teacher at that school tell you anything? School is a hallowed ground. You could say they had to keep scandals under wraps. I didn't have a search warrant, so I had to tread lightly, you see. Then there was no comment from the school? No. They denied the incident ever happened. It's just, female students were carried in for blunt force trauma that day. Oh, just, female students were carried in for blunt trauma that day. That's all there was in the hospital records. The victims didn't speak, the school denied it happened, and you don't know anything at all? Yeah. About nothing other than the incident itself had taken place. Victims also wished that the incident be kept from the public. The victims also wished that the incident be kept from the public. So if you and I both forget about it, Mayabara-san, this incident will probably just fade away. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by rolling waves, sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with. After that, she was suspended by the school. During that time, she underwent psychiatric counseling. You hear anything from that doctor? Again, they were very professional in regards to their ethics. Or at the very least, tight-lipped. Nothing even after you showed them your badge? I was told to get a warrant. The badge itself has no legally binding authority after all. And how did you know that Rena confessed that it was Oyashiro-sama who did it? There was a nurse I asked in that department. She agreed to help me just for showing her my badge. Then what did she say? Turns out the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently all she remembered was that she overheard from inside the room. The nurse said at that time, Rena Ryugi was very calm and mild. It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than a counseling session. She spoke with her mother for some of it. Partway through, her mother had asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session with just the doctor and Rena for a while. The part with Oyashiro-sama, where did that pop up? Partway through, she screamed the name suddenly. That startled the nurse, and that's why she started listening in. It was Oyashiro-sama. Rena suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what she had said before that, so I have no idea the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Rena to have a seat. What is this Oyashiro-sama you speak? Gently, ever so gently. Fundamentals of counseling, believing what you were told. Whoever abandons Hinamizawa will be hunted down by Oyashiro-sama. And finally gotten to me. That's the town you lived in before you moved here. Isn't that right, Ryugu-san? I didn't want to move, but because of my mom and dad's circumstances, I had to. But Oyashiro-sama wouldn't allow it. Rena-san must have had lots of friends at Hinamizawa. Even now you must be missing them dearly, don't you think? I want to go back. Back to Hinamizawa. It's not that I want to go back. I have to go back. I could have gotten back much sooner. Now it's too late. Yoshiro-sama has come. Yoshiro-sama is named with the god of Hinamizawa. Is that right? Knows Hinamizawa's guardian deity. If you ever try abandoning Hinamizawa, leaving, you'll incur its wrath. His wrath. You have moved quite a while ago, didn't you? And just now that the god has arrived, is that what you're saying? You might not believe me, but Yoshiro-sama exists. The nurse was asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. It was all she remembered. That was what Yoshiro-sama was doing, right? do believe there was some kind of superstition here. But there is that kind of superstition. That if you leave the village, and you incur Yoshiro-sama's wrath. You'd be familiar with this part of my I knew very well that those scorned by the village occurred. They hindered the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. Then the following year, Sadago's parents, supporters and leading advocates of the dam, cursed their death. But this is the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village. My first time hearing that. I understand outside threats being curses to the village, but why also villagers who leave? Normally people who leave villages aren't supposed to be cursed, right? I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that the people who come here the people who come in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something that to chase after people that leave, were they? Shisan pondered for a bit at the end of the receiver, then began speaking again. Well, I told you long ago that what Hinamizawa was called Onagafuchi, didn't I? I recall hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of ogres. The villagers at the foot of the mountains worshipped the ogres. Onagafuchi was hollow ground that could never enter. It came to be said that if you entered carelessly, you were cursed by Yoshiro-sama. Those who set foot in Onagafuchi, in other words, Hinamizawa, cursed. I can understand that. I know that, but for leaving to also be no good, that's... Also, the ogres you see. They were being strictly watched by Oyashiro-sama so that they would not enter into our world. In other words, Oyashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between Onagafuchi and the rest of the world. I see. Yep. I did the wrong place. Also, the ogres you see. They were being strictly watched by Oyashiro-sama so they would not enter our world. In other words, Oyashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between Fuji and the rest of the world. I see. I finally understood what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was. But basically, Oyashiro-sama was more like a warden than a protector deity, I guess. Trying to keep this place isolated from the rest of the world. I guess that's how it would seem. Sorry, I don't know very much myself. Mostly what was passed on to grandmother. I can understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So because Rena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed. That means because Rena moved away against its wishes, she was cursed by Oyashiro-sama? That what it adds up to? In short, it seems to be what it points to, I guess. As a matter of fact, after they did move back to Hinamizawa, those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rena? Didn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of some same transgression by moving away and having been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, wouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big a deal at all. I'd almost say scandal. At most, there would be one person dying, one disappearing on the day of the Wanagashi. I didn't like saying at most, though. Well, anyways. Still a lot I don't know. Even if it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, it doesn't add up to why her classmates, victims who were bad charges. You don't think the victims were cowering? Terrible curse had befallen them, do you? Of course I didn't want to believe it, but more importantly, I had realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before disappearing, just like me. Then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon she had used at the time of that horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. Finally me. I encountered various things that were inexplicable, and I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi had done the same thing. It couldn't be. The same thing happened to Rena? There's one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Orishiro-sama's curse, yet they met with different endings. Finally, me. Couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, finally, me. Could it be that I really was under Orishiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Rena was fine. Fine? Rena had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something like that Rena wasn't was I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Rena residing within her. And here right now, it was standing before me. Rena, please tell me, what will happen to me? Rena stood imposingly, not answering. Satoshi disappeared, but Rena didn't disappear. But what will happen to me? I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice of expression or feeling. Don't worry, I'll save you. Rena took one step forward, still holding the axe high above her head. Now then, one step closer, Rena's face spread out to fill my vision. Speak. Step closer. Rena's nose was close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer. There's something you want to say, isn't there? I'll listen. I'll save you, okay? Speak, okay? Speak, okay? I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Rena. I had a gut feeling that I couldn't let her laugh end. Because when that laughing ended, the moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet as fast as I could. I so fast, even I couldn't believe it, and pushed Rena away with both hands. Rena was light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the axe, she was sent backwards as if she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. It was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Get away from Rena. Run away. Survive. Couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered that I'd been holding onto the bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgot about this weapon at such an important time. I speeded even further down the winding path. Didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that simulacrum of Rena coming from behind me. It rang through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. The grove of trees thinned out, and I feel the vision suddenly expanding. What was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery, and I felt I knew but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized the damn sight. The fact that I dashed so madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. It was a terrible spot for someone on the run. There was no better place for the attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. Also, my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even so, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Then I saw two villagers walking around. Breathing a sigh of relief, it wasn't Rena, but a third party. But the voice inside me rang an alarm once again. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious of themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore tough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression they were just out for a walk. This time of day, two adults wandering around without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. But more than anything, those eyes weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forwards, looking in my direction. Was I at the end of my rope and finally started imagining things? I should run away. That's probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were a part of the group after me, they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Brennan would catch up with me. That's right, I was gonna run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me, as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I had jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now, I just realized how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oishi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey flooded back through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming at me without even turning around because of their frantic footsteps. It was frightening being unable to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me. It didn't even compare. Being pursued by such violent ferocity, this was straightforward horror and was unparalleled. One of the pursuer's arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also a distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. So I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. But I felt that the time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. Less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. And then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like that. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg, or go with the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment aside that temporal singularity bursts into pieces. Right. Left. I swung the bat in the wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped suddenly and spun around. What? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms, ready to grab me, instead grabbed an empty space. The man on the right, I applauded them for being able to figure it out. Spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been and faced me in astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. Just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. Got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. This made me certain that they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Rena. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. What do you want with me? Next one is going to be right in your face, you bastard. I thought it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab my bat and the other would hold me down. Is that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body. And I just have to settle it with the first move. I step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arms, their bones would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, then it was possible that the blood would travel all the way into their vital organs. It looks like he was aware of this. He pushed further through the kill zone between us and delivered a right fist right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, in this state, there was no way for me to dodge it. And then I got shot. World flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. Didn't hurt at all. The moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming in the abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, filling my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have the time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could. In that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it made it all the more upsetting. plowing into my stomach full force once again. My assailant twisted around behind me, locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened, and a silent whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I was able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake his arm off me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with a phrase that adequately described my situation. Okay? Why am I back home? A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and the pillows. I know them well. Or I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot through my entire body. Feeling alright? You better lie down for a bit. I was running in my room. Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries, but Rena's smile belonged to the Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe. Why am I... Don't you remember? After losing consciousness, nothing at all. My body had become more lethargic than I could ever have imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind. Call the doctor. He'll be here soon. I think you better just lie down until then. I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor. Yes, you are. But knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring. Why am I here? I'm sure for the damn sight. I want to know. What happened? When I got there, Keichiken was already passed out. Well, I'm the one who wants to know. I was attacked by two weirdos. As I talked about it, I finally remember what happened right before I passed out. Recalling the memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health. Amazing you could drag me all the way back here. Wasn't I heavy? Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Do you have some help? Remember Keiichi-kun? Rena appeared a bit surprised, but she still kept her smile. I propped you up on my shoulder. Said you could walk on your own and that you were fine. You don't remember? I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness. What about those two? Huh? When you got there, Rena, the ones with me, rather those two guys. There wasn't anyone. She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at that time. Might have been able to force some answers. If I did that, then this kind Rena might transform into the scary Rena who I didn't know. Hearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both those men were there, I don't think Rena would have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly, yet... Felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something. Something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oishi-san. Rena stopped when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep. I'd like to go to the bathroom, though. Sorry. Rena couldn't say anything else. While Rena stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell ring. The doorbell rang ding dong. I don't know why. I almost read that as ring a ding ding. Too much Fallout. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call. It would be incredibly reassuring to have them here for the considerable time it would take Oishi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption and regretted it almost instantly. Mion? Oh, you look just fine. I heard you collapsed, so I came to check up on you. How did you know I collapsed? I heard it from Rena over the phone. Do I need any reason other than that? I understood why she would call a doctor. Why Mion, too? Rena was descending the stairs behind me. Rena, doesn't Kei-chan look pretty alright? Gee, she made me worry for nothing. That's true. I was worried for nothing as well. We both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming. Whoa, what's up with this shoe rack? How did it get like this? The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday. I fell, you see. That I was holding, I'm slammed it. This is what happens when you swim around something you're not used to handling. I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself. Leaving it like this will really startle your parents when they get home. I'll fix it up for you later. Now come on, Kei-chan. The terminally ill need their rest. Back to bed. Kei-chan. Wait. No, that... She's repeating herself now. Now come on, Kei-chan. It's the terminally ill need their rest. Come on. Come. Back in bed. Back in bed. Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oishi-san. I was pushed onto my bed. The first time Mian had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Rena. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mian said something as though it was perfectly ordinary. Rena, you call a manager. Yep. Right after I called Mei-chan. He said he'd be right over. Manager? That out of the place word gave me a bad feeling. Rena called a doctor, then called Mion. After that, she called a manager? Who was this manager? Since Rena and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd. What are you two talking about? Who's this manager? Didn't you know, Kei-chan? We mean the manager when we say the manager. It's the director of a movie, or like a foreman of a construction site. I dug through all my memories for a manager who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. Rena had just said, construction site foreman. Very first victim of the first incident. The dismemberment of the damn construction site. A foreman? That was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. What does the manager have to do with me? He said he was coming. Into my house? Asked one obvious question after the other. All the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly, I felt discomfort and panic welling inside me. I couldn't understand what Rena and Mian were talking about. Hey, Chan, you've gotten into baseball lately, haven't you? Pretty sure the manager will be happy to hear that. Who is this manager? The manager is the manager. Who is this manager? Rena and Mion looked at each other and laughed haughtily. A disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. More laughing. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly. Oh yeah, we should finish up before the manager comes. You remember, don't you, Kei-chan? Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story. Remember? Remember what? Kei-chan had he forgotten, I wonder? About the penalty. About the penalty. You really forget. Homework with emoji? Homework where you were supposed to guess which one Rena made? You forgot about that homework, didn't you? I certainly did have that homework. But I had thrown away all the rest of the mochi after I found that sewing needle. I wasn't able to answer which one was Rena's. Penalty for that? And now. No. That question was written all over my face. The answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible. Being chased by Rena, attacked by strange men, the penalty Mion and Rena were talking about. Now the bugs are laughing at me. Wait, what were these two laughing at? It didn't take long for me to realize I had been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Like the right way. Get the fuck away from me. Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back? What are you doing? Don't move. This is your penalty. My body was already very sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made me that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. The panic began to well up, and I realized this was well beyond the realms of joke and pleasantries. This freakish monstrous strength, it would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. And these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they? Kei-chan, no struggling. Club rules. There are no exceptions. You can't fight against the penalty. Mion. No, that thing that looked like Mion. Spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. I was certain. This was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion. Need to finish this up before the manager comes. Mion fished out her pocket and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What is that? It was a small syringe. The small clear syringe, like what a doctor would use when you went to him when you were sick. Rena held me even tighter. I could hear that clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter wasn't something that the Rena I knew would ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena, was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer. That needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times. Don't worry, don't worry. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. What are you planning on doing? What kind of sick joke is this? What are you saying, Kei-chan? You know exactly what's going on, don't you? About what? I don't understand any of this at all. I know you know. No use playing the fool this late in the game. Stop talking nonsense and trying to confuse me. You're gonna have done to you what happened to Tomotage-san. What? Same as Tomotage-san? I didn't really understand what she meant. What did that have to do with this syringe? You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun. You should have realized it by now. Rena whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? Oh, what? What do you mean, the same as Tomotage-san? Everyone thought at first it was a hit and run, except when the officer got closer to check if he was still alive. He noticed it wasn't a normal situation. His throat was scratched out. From a, from a knife or something? No. Nails. Nails. Nails as in fingernails? With those gouged through? That's right. Toмотaka-san clawed his own throat with his own nails and died. There was no way someone could die like that. So then for that to happen, we thought, oh, this is Oishi-san. We thought drugs were to blame. Nothing of that nature was detected. That's right. Police didn't find any drugs in Toмотaki-san's system. The police told me they didn't find any drugs in Toмотaki-san's body. Gwag, 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 gwag. Two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning the drug that caused Toмотaki-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist? If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I need. That would basically mean I'd end up as the same as Toмотaki-san. Become hysterical, scratching out my throat in the last moment, then die. Such an outrageous drug to exist, for Mion to be holding it, and that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel that there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight at his face, would take time to think of a reason why it's flying at him? Just give up. Alright then. Mion's actions lacked any gravitas, and that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone was sentenced to death. No hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. I felt electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. You ended it there! Uh-oh. I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, the entire room had changed drastically. The numbness of my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing through my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? 20 minutes? Or had it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time had passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Brenda wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be? All of it was a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. I was certainly with Rena and Mion. Got on my sanity for a moment, was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena or Mion, they wouldn't ever do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Eon. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter was undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile that was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rena. That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what happened. Someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down with this metal bat? Finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat, covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. I was holding that bat. I was the only person in the house. What? I... Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? Right. Eiichi Maebara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, coaxing myself. Hey, me. There's no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? But the blood, there's so much. Neither Rena or Mion moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me it didn't just end with just 2 or 3 strikes. They were dead? Both of them? Depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Feel like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision and the smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remember what happened when I blacked out. Rena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the symptoms same symptoms as Tomitaki-san. Right before that happened, I fought back. Twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. And I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. Soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Wept. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside myself had told me not to look. Turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape was in me what hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other side of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes, was still so difficult to take in. There were splits splattered everywhere on the walls, and the 2 of them were in these unnatural poses. Not a single movement from them. Couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. May have even killed them. If I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out with an imaginary scale, I felt odd that I even feel bad about this. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. Proof was all here. 2 of them collapsed, and Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug could certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitaki-san. And from the fact that both these 2 were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this. That was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. It wouldn't fade into the darkness like Rena's past incident. As long as the police were involved, they should bring this to a close. I'll probably revisit the investigation on the chain of incidents. Wishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning, I wish. Not wanting to die. Wanting to know the truth. That would be fulfilled in the most basic form. It's all a matter of time now. Dr. Runeheart should be getting her soon. Confess everything to him. Get him to contact Oishi-san. At that moment I remembered. Besides the doctor, a manager had been called. It was easy to imagine that they were someone deeply involved in the incidents, judging from Rena and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest, caused by the gruesome deed I'd done, dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maebara. It's not over yet. I need to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I'd heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean that there was more than one person. I moved the curtains ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate, very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me on the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. Gut told me it was a disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to answer the front door. Pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van! No mistaking it. That van, the one that had tried to run me down? The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they just break through the window and enter. I need to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon. Then shoes. Before all that, there was one thing I had to do. No intention of dying. I'd live to reveal the truth of this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. Then what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was? It may bring about my demise. That was why. There's one more important thing to get that. One more important. There was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. Adjusting the note behind the clock? Yeah. I need to get that clock out quickly and take down the note behind it. Damn it. It was sticking to it fast. It'd be fine if it got torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, then the only thing I could do was rely on this note. I never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time and only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Brenna and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. Still didn't want to believe it. It was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help them to finding the perpetrator. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more, have a white van. Everything I was able to see from the window. Maybe more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the managers from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim of the first murder. The very first victim of the chain of incidents. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. Right arm never discovered. Police should have confirmed that death, but Brenna and Mion did both call him manager. They said manager. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. Police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could it be some sort of oversight? I didn't know, but even if I didn't know, it would be a big hint for Oishi-san. Right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but a start of the string of the serious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the first dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. So is that really the case? Maybe some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? Shouldn't jump to conclusions. But he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah, there's something even more important I needed to write. Tomatake's death was from an unknown drug. That's right, that drug. This was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe back onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape. So it absolutely would not slip out and fall into the floor. Firmly. Firmly! Bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore. But even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. Maybe the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you're reading this, then I'm probably already dead. So you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write out everything that could happen, for dying from the curse, being demoned away. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. It is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. I wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. Folded a note, stuck it back into the back of the clock, and returned that clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I'll leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last to ever see each other. Rena, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. Why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, but if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go for a safety net, that was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying, competitions, and personal records and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them. But they wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life. Even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. Could it be those happy days were all a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until the day to ensnare me? Could have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they really were my friends. Happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Rena and Mion, they were my best friends ever. And they were coming after me. It wasn't of their own volition. Hey, they weren't the kind of people to saw off their friends, regardless of whether or not they were forced. There's no way such a thing like being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then did the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake, only the reality only the reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit. That I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions that was holding me back. That I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rena and Mion, I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to try and get away. I didn't want to die. I wouldn't cover everything after that. The identity of whoever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. I can't die. For my sake and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion. I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again as if to urge me on. Behind the single solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. I headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. I put on my shoes. I opened the door and slowly so as to not make a sound. There he is, the back door! A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, sending my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomous pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever, so of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran, recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was heading. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. That presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like my shadow. If I took one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran at full speed. Sound. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something, then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Only the Higurashi knew. Knew everything. They definitely did. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the further I ran, the further away the chirping became. Couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? I'll apologize. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I felt that only the Higurashi knew. Faced by shadows, run from the truth of your crimes. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electronic noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even? I recall hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about a tenth of the municipality's revenue. They were the most heavily taxed members of this municipality, so I really wish that they'd show us a little more respect. Why would you... Crap, my hat's like off the desk. Why would you discard the 5 manzu there? Just decreasing your options. One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest. Well, next turn. We're still in the Tampai at the 5 manzu. If you're betting on Haite, then shouldn't you be going into it with the... Look at these words. Kumachan. Deep voice, please. Kumachan. Look at the pawn. They all discarded the 5 man. They all discarded the 5 manzu. It's a safe tile. Hate it. At endgame. Sitting on its turn. The kid let out another groan, put out his cigarette, and then took out another one. I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options? By the way, you can't call Ron with your winning tile, I'd say. What? Why is that? Just then I heard the voice coming from down the hall. Are you here, Oishi-san? You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? Well, see. Why can't you call Ron on it? Hold on for a second, Oishi-san. The man sitting in the seat Oishi-san was headed towards waved at the telephone receiver. Outside line, from a payphone. Oh, what? Why, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oishi. Who is it? Ah, Oishi-san? Hello? If it isn't my bar-san. Good evening. From the tone of Mayabara-kun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This is the first time Mayabara-kun had phoned me. He was calling from a payphone. Please come down. Please calm down. Something happened. Well, his voice was erratic over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. Checking that nobody could hear, I prompted him to a hushed tone. What happened? I... Calm down, my son. I have the local officer attending your location. Be there soon, too. I think that's impossible. His voice was quivering in horror. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? Maibara-san, on from a payphone right now. Where is that payphone? There were no other sounds beside Maibara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched at a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Inamuzawa, phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on the internal line. Calm down, Maibara. What is your current situation? It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking not to do so, but this was not an unusual case. Maibara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maibara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Maibara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. Trying to tell us something more than that. Whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamuzawa. Roll caller's on his way. 5 minutes. That's too long. How many officers are they? 2. Not enough. It was just as I was imagining. There was likely quite a few people surrounding Maibara-kun. 5 minutes was too long. Did you call the officer stationed in Hinamuzawa? He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it's possible to contact them. God damn it. Kuma-chan, bring the car around. Understood. Hello? Oishi-san? Hello. It's alright. I can hear you loud and clear. There's something wrong with Maibara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured? Maibara-san, the police are on their way. We'll be there in a couple of minutes. Hold on somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Maibara-san. I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. Worst possible situation popped into my head. Maibara-san, who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought at first the culprit was human. Couldn't tell if it was a cough or vomiting. Oh, you were right. Maibara-san. Thought that the culprit was a person and not Oishiro-sama's curse until right now, but I guess in the end there's an intense bout of coughing and vomiting. But I guess Oishiro-sama does exist. So he's here. Maibara-san, please, just calm down. I had been thinking that it was strange for a while now. Been following me this whole time. I run and run and run and run and run. But it just sticks to me like my shadow. Slowly, so slowly, digging itself into my back. Maibara-san, are they right now, perhaps? Right behind you? Behind me. Right, behind me. Please, Maibara-san. I can tell you're scared, but please, who is it that's right behind you? I just can't look behind me. If I do, I'll... I understand that you're scared, but please tell me. You just need to turn around a bit. Who is it? Who is behind you, Maibara-san? Right after he said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Maibara-san, it couldn't be that you're clawing your own throat out? There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Maibara had probably dropped the receiver. I hear groaning and vomiting over the other end and a repeating abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Maibara-san? Hello? I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end. I couldn't help but shout. At that moment I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. The way he was saying it, he was talking to himself? Was he talking to someone there? Hello? Maibara-san. Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up on what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep. Suddenly the line went dead. Did he use up his time? Was it because it was a payphone? It was because it cut so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind. Oishi-san, the car is good to go. Oishi-san. Was sorry. Oishi-san? That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the trip of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. should have been able to hear them this entire time. Just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them now all of a sudden? Are they trying to tell me something? The Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. July 1983. In Mizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect is Keiichi Maebara, aged something teen. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, Rena Ryugu, Mio Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime scene was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. Inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. Kitchen. At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had evidence of being impacted with strong blunt force. It is believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. There are no traces of blood. It is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There's a possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, a rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It's hard to believe that it has a connection to the struggle with the victim, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. Nothing happened in there. In the kitchen, the garbage was torn apart, and contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed the suspect had for some reason taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. Words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. So the garage door was functional. It had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer at Himanizawa local PD found the suspect collapsed inside a phone. At the time of the discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment, but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The result of the autopsy indicated the immediate cause of death to have been hypervolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed out his own throat with his fingernails. Resulting bleeding caused his death. With the similarity of the death of Tomotaki-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection that have opened up an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomotaki-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, the case has been treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with bizarre accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it's possible that this was predetermined. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was obviously displaying aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. Classmates have actually reported portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but is instead planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets from a P5 college rule handbook, each been torn in half, as if trying to conceal what was stuck hidden in the clock on the wall. Contents were written in the appendix. Police believed to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case has been labeled as unresolved. However, the following year, suspicions arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on two halves of B5 paper from two separate sheets. It was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. Highly probable the person who eliminated the line in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from the traces of large quantities of telephone tape stuck to the back of the clock, speculation that something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was the detective rumored to have been in connection with the Kurado Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning but denies involvement in any of the damages. Suspect's note. I, Keiichi Maibara, am in fear of my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it is to do with Oishiro-sama's curse. Runa and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 to 5 adults, maybe more. Have a right van. This is all the first sheet. Everything below has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. Everything above this has been ripped out. I have no idea what it has become like this. You're reading this and I'm probably already dead. The only difference may be that the presence or lack of a body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That's my only desire. Keiichi Maibara. But wait, I might have to go back. What was the line that was missing? How far back does this go? It doesn't go back far enough. Oh no, the part that's ripped out is the part about talking about the drug. Like attached is this proof. That's what is missing. And they took the proof itself. So yeah, no, that syringe was very important. Boom. New scenario has been locked. All cast review session has become available. To play, select extra on the title screen. Please uncover the truth. Complete Oni Kakushi chapter. Damn. Oh wow, look at that timing. So yeah, that's been chapter 1. What? What's going on? What was that bit with the manager at the end? That seems like it's extremely important and we haven't touched on it at all. But yeah. That's something. This was chapter 1 of, I have no idea how many there are. There are 8 chapters, I believe. And yeah, we will be looking through them. I can't pronounce any of these chapter titles. Yeah. I am 100% going to continue this series. So many chapters I got to get through. Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Next time, maybe we learn more things from a different perspective is how I understand this thing works. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.